All right, let's jump right in. Today, we are heading straight into the engine room of business strategy. Why? Because getting a handle on a company's cost structure, well, that's not just some boring accounting task. It's literally the foundation for survival, for growth, and of course, for profitability. So, let me ask you a question, a really important one. If you could pull just one single lever to make a business more profitable, what would you choose? Now, I bet a lot of you are thinking boost sales, right? And look, you're not wrong, but that's only half the story. The real answer, the thing that separates the good from the truly great businesses, it's all about mastering your cost structure. You see, how you spend your money is every bit as critical as how you make it. This is the key. This is how you unlock profit that actually lasts. Okay, so here's our game plan for today. We'll kick things off with the two basic types of costs. Then we're going to get into how you spot the variable ones. After that, we'll open up the strategic playbook, talk about leverage and risk, and wrap it all up with a really practical case study involving a bakery. All right, let's start with the absolute basics. Every single dollar a business spends can be sorted into one of two buckets. It's either a fixed cost or a variable cost. And getting this split right, I'm telling you, this isn't just for the accountants. It's the bedrock for any kind of real strategic thinking. So many people overlook this, but it's step one to getting real control over your finances. So what's the big difference here? It all comes down to how they behave. On one hand, you've got your fixed costs. Think of your rent payment, right? Or a salaried employee. It doesn't matter if you sell one thing or a million things. That cost stays the same month after month. But then you've got variable costs. These guys are totally different. They move right along with your production. The more you make, the more you spend on things like raw materials or sales commissions. They go up and down with your output, which makes them way more flexible in the short term. Okay, we've got our two buckets. Now let's zero in on the more dynamic one, variable costs. These are the costs that really dance with the rhythm of your business, and learning to spot them is a serious strategic skill. So what are we actually talking about here? Well, these are the usual suspects. Raw materials are the classic example, right? The flour for our baker, the steel for our car company. Then there's direct labor. That's the pay for the folks on the assembly line, the ones actually making the product. Sales commissioner, another big one. You sell more, you pay out more. Simple. Utilities can be a little tricky, but think about the extra electricity you use when the factory is running full tilt. That's variable. And of course, shipping costs. The more you sell, the more you ship. It all scales up. And you know, the math here is actually super simple, but don't let that fool you. It's incredibly powerful. Your total variable cost is just the number of things you made times how much it costs to make each one. That's it. But this little formula, it's your crystal ball for forecasting what your expenses are going to look like as you grow. Okay, this is where it gets really good, because all this stuff we've been talking about, it's not just numbers for a spreadsheet. No way. This is actionable intelligence. This is where we take the data and turn it into smart decisions. So let's open up the strategic playbook. Here it is, a 4-step path to profitability. It's clear, it works, you can use it again and again. Step 1, you get obsessive about analyzing and tracking your variable costs. Step 2, you use that info to figure out something called your contribution margin. Super important, we'll get to it. Step 3, that lets you find your break-even point, the magic number where you stop losing money. And finally, step 4, with all that in your pocket, you can set prices strategically, prices that actually make you money. So let's talk about this contribution margin thing. It's a game changer. Imagine you sell something. Right away, you have to pay for the direct costs of making that one thing. Those are your variable costs. The money that's left over, that's your contribution margin. And what does that money do? Well, its first job is to help pay off all your fixed costs. The rent, the salaries. But once those are all paid for, every single dollar of contribution margin from then on is pure, straight-up profit. And that idea leads us straight to the break-even point. This is the big one. It's the answer to the question, how much do I have to sell just to not lose any money? And the formula is beautiful in its simplicity. You just take your total fixed costs and divide them by that contribution margin we just talked about. Boom. That tells you the exact number of sales you need to hit to get back to zero. Every single sale you make after that point is what starts building your profit. Okay, let's zoom out a bit now and think bigger picture. Because the mix of fixed and variable costs you choose for your business, well, that's not just some small operational detail. It is a fundamental strategic choice that defines your company's entire risk profile and its potential for massive growth. This quote really nails the trade-off. A business loaded with fixed costs has something called high operating leverage. What does that mean? It means once you finally sell enough to cover those big fixed costs, your profits just explode with every extra sale. Think about a software company. Huge upfront cost, but then each sale is almost pure profit. The risk is huge if you don't sell enough, but the reward is massive. It can even be a weapon, right? Creating a huge barrier that keeps smaller competitors out. On the flip side, a business with mostly variable costs, like a freelance consultant, is much safer. But your profit growth is a lot slower, more of a steady climb. Let's make this super concrete. Imagine you need a new machine. You've got two options on the table. Option A, you rent it for a flat fee, $1,000 a month. That's a fixed cost. Option B, you pay per use, 5 cents for every single item you make with it. That's a variable cost. So, which one do you choose? Well, the classic consultant's answer is, it depends. And it depends entirely on how much you think you're going to produce. And here is the magic number, 20,000. At exactly 20,000 units, both options cost you the exact same amount, $1,000. So if you think you're going to make less than that, the pay-per-use variable option is your cheaper, safer bet. But if you are confident you can blow past 20,000 units, that fixed cost option becomes a rocket ship for your profits. I mean, think about it. At 1 million units, the fixed option is suddenly $49,000 cheaper. That is pure profit dropping straight to your bottom line. Okay, we've talked theory, we've talked strategy. Now it's time to get our hands dirty. Let's put this whole framework to the test with a simple, real-world example, a small bakery. First things first, let's nail down the variable costs. For every single cake they make, they spend $5 on ingredients. Flour, sugar, the good stuff. And it costs $10 in labor for the baker to actually make it. So add it up, and your total variable cost per cake is $15. And you can see how this scales perfectly. Make 10 cakes, it's $150. Make 100 cakes, it's $1,500. Simple, direct, predictable. Now let's look at a single sale. They sell each cake for $35. We just figured out it costs $15 in variable costs to make it. So what's left over? 35 minus 15, that's $20. That is our contribution margin. For every cake that walks out the door, the bakery gets $20 to put towards paying the rent and, after that, making a profit. And this brings us to the most important number for this little bakery. Let's say their fixed costs, rent, utilities, all that, come to $900 a month. So, how many cakes do they have to sell just to cover their bills? We take that $900 in fixed costs and we divide it by our $20 contribution margin. The answer? 45 cakes. If they sell 45 cakes in a month, they haven't made a penny of profit, but they haven't lost a penny either. They've broken even. This table just lays it all out so clearly. Check it out. If they have a slow month and only sell 20 cakes, they're in the red. They lose $500. At exactly 45 cakes, they hit that magic break-even point. 0 profit, 0 loss. But look what happens when they sell just 5 more cakes. Just 5. Suddenly they're profitable. They've made $100. And if they have a great month and sell 100 cakes, their profit skyrockets to over $1,000. That is the power of blowing past your break-even point. So let's wrap this all up. What are the big takeaways here? First, variable costs aren't just line items on a P&L. They're the pulse of your business activity. Second, you absolutely have to master them if you want to have any real understanding of your contribution margin and break-even point. And most importantly, this is not just theory. This is a toolkit. It gives you the power to set your prices with confidence, to budget accurately, and to make smart, strategic choices about risk and growth.
So I'll leave you with this final thought. We've gone through a powerful framework today, but it's not meant to just stay in your head. It's a tool that's meant to be used. So my question for you is this. Thinking about your own business, or one you know really well, what's the very first strategic decision you're going to look at again now that you have this lens of variable cost analysis?